My girlfriend Elise and I were excited for our weekend getaway. My family owned an old hunting cabin deep in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, the perfect place to unplug and relax. The property sat on 5 wooded acres with a private dock on Blackwater Lake, a body of water so still and dark it had always made me uneasy as a kid. I used to imagine all sorts of things lurking beneath its surface. When we arrived at dusk, the place looked exactly as I remembered: weathered cedar siding, a mossy roof, and that familiar scent of pine and damp earth. The only odd thing was the front door. It was slightly ajar. "I swear my dad locks up tighter than this," I said, pushing it open with my foot. The interior was dark, the air stale. Elise flicked on the lights while I checked the rooms. Nothing seemed out of place until I noticed the basement door. The padlock was broken, the hasp bent outward, like something had forced its way out. "Probably just raccoons," I lied, nailing the door shut with some spare planks I found in the garage. I didn't tell Elise that my dad had always warned me never to go down there. That night we sat by the fire pit, listening to the loons out on the lake. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying the distant creaks of the old dock shifting with the water. It should have been peaceful. Around midnight, Elise tensed. "Do you hear that?" A slow, wet, dragging sound came from the dock, like something heavy being pulled across the weathered boards. I grabbed the flashlight. The beam cut through the mist to reveal deep gouges in the wood, claw marks, fresh and glistening. The air smelled like lake water and something else, something foul and metallic. Then the light caught movement in the reeds. Something pale and hunched slipped beneath the black water. We retreated inside, double-locking the doors. At 3:17 a.m., the knocking started, 3 heavy blows on the front door. "Sheriff's Department," a voice barked. "We got reports of trespassers." I moved to open it, but Elise stopped me. "No cop car has headlights like that," she whispered. Through the window, I saw the silhouette of a man, too tall, his shoulders oddly hunched. His limbs looked wrong, stretched too long beneath his uniform. Behind him, 2 more figures stood motionless in the trees. None wore badges, just dark, dripping clothes. The knocking turned to pounding. The doorframe splintered. We fled out the back, crashing through the woods. The cold night air burned my lungs as we sprinted toward the neighbor's property, branches slashing at our arms. Behind us, something moved through the trees, not running but gliding. The sound of wet dragging filled the air, keeping pace with us. By the time we reached the neighbor's cabin, the night had gone eerily silent. The sheriff arrived an hour later, but when they searched our cabin, it was empty, except for the basement door ripped clean off its hinges. From the inside, and those claw marks, they led straight down to the lake. We never went back. But sometimes late at night I hear that same wet dragging sound, and I wonder if whatever we disturbed at Blackwater Lake is still looking for us. The haunting continues. A few months after our escape, I started having nightmares. In them, I was back at the cabin standing on the dock. The lake stretched out before me, black and endless. Then something rose from the water. A pale, dripping figure, its mouth too wide, its eyes too black. I always woke up before it reached me, my heart pounding. At first I thought it was just trauma, my mind replaying the horrors of that night. But then, strange things started happening. Scratches appeared on my apartment door, deep gouges that reminded me of the ones on the dock. The pipes in the walls made a sound like wet dragging, even when no water was running. Elise and I tried to move on, but the sense of being watched never faded. One night she woke up screaming. When I turned on the light, I saw handprints, wet, pale handprints, on our bedroom window. We lived on the 3rd floor. We started researching Blackwater Lake, desperate for answers. It didn't take long to find whispers of an old legend. A town once stood where the lake is now, swallowed whole by the water after a series of disappearances. The townspeople had tried to stop something ancient, something that didn't belong. But they failed. The town was abandoned, the lake formed over its remains. No one knew what they had locked beneath the water, or if it ever truly stayed locked. The idea haunted me. Had we woken something up? The return we agreed never to go back. But when my father called one evening, his voice tight with worry, I knew. We had no choice. Someone's been breaking into the cabin, he said. Doors left open, things moved around. I don't know if it's just kids messing around, but I want to check it out before I decide to sell the place. Will you come with me? I didn't want to. Every part of me screamed against it, but if something was still there,